Salutations everyone! The time right now is 2:19 p.m. Saturday 27th of September. And cool to be on back air on Good News Radio because you're listening to Spiritual Chords. So welcome back ladies and gentlemen as we're now here with Spiritual Chords. So the first topic is about Alfred Nobel. Probably you heard him before. Have you ever heard of the Nobel Prize? Well, basically, this is about him. How did the inventor of dynamite make us think of world peace? You can find the answer to that question in the life of Alfred Nobel. The story begins in Stockholm, where Alfred was born on October 21st in 1883. His father, Emanuel, was an engineer who built bridges and buildings. By the age of 17, Alfred Nobel could speak Swedish, Russian, French, English and German. He was good at English literature as well as chemistry and physics. But his father, Emanuel Nobel, was successful and wanted his sons to become engineers and join his business. He felt unhappy about Alfred's interest in poetry and thought he seemed unsociable. So he sent Alfred abroad to study chemical engineering. Over the next 2 years, Alfred visited Sweden, Germany, France, and the United States. In Paris, he met a young lady who was the inventor of nitroglycerin. Alfred became interested in because he thought it would be used in building and construction work. He also knew that it was extremely dangerous. After several explosions, including one which killed his brother Emil, Alfred invented dynamite. Because of the invention of dynamite, it became easier and cheaper to make tunnels and build bridges. Alfred Nobel soon became a successful businessman. He advertised in a newspaper for a secretary. He chose an Australian woman, Countess Bertha Kingsty. But she only worked for a very short time for Nobel before he returned to Austria and married Count Arthur von Sutter. Well, what happened next? Nobel's friendship with the Countess continued, however, and they wrote letters to each other for many years. During his time, Bertha von Sutter became more and more worried about the world side, increased in military weapons. She wrote a famous book and became an important member of the peace movement. Her work must have influenced Nobel. Alfred Nobel was a great man in many different ways. He was a scientist, an inventor, and he was also a businessman. He was concerned about social and world peace. He was also a great interest in literature and wrote plays and poetry. Nobel died in Italy 1896. His will said that his fortune should be used in prizes in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace at a yearly ceremony in Stockholm. In 1905, the Swedish Parliament awarded the prize to Bertha von Sutter. Other winners had been Nelson Mandela, of South Africa, 1993, and Anwar Sadat of Egypt in 1978. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Why don't we listen to a little bit of a song break? After that, we will be continuing our next story. So, ladies and gentlemen, once we are back with spiritual chords. So, we have now learned what is it like to have world peace, but we also have been led to a question. What is it like to be special? Well, specifically, people have changed the world in many ways. This is a story of someone who has changed the world with his music. A genius is someone who's extremely good at doing something. So what makes a person a genius? Some children show signs of genius at a very early age. These children are called child prodigies. This is the story of Mozart, a great musical genius. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born in Salzburg in Austria on the 27th of January 1756. His parents, Leopold and Anna Maria, could see that he was special from the very beginning of his life. He also had a sister, Maria Anna, who showed musical talent. He never wanted to go to school. Instead, he wanted to be taught by his father. Leopold was also very talented. He was a violinist and composer, as well as an author. And he was a concert master for the court orchestra. So Mozart was surrounded by music from the day he was born. Certainly by the age of 6, Mozart could play 3 instruments: a piano called the clavier, the violin, and the organ. At this time, he wrote 5 piano pieces based on the tune Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. People still play and enjoy these pieces. When Mozart was 6 and his sister was 10, his father took them to Munich and Vienna to play a series of concerts. A year later, when Mozart was only 7, Leopold took his family on a tour of Western Europe. At the end of it, them and his sister had performed Stuttgart, Frankfurt, Paris, London, etc. They did not return to Salzburg until 1766. But what happened later? Mozart was now composing longer and longer pieces of music. He completed his first symphony at the age of 9, and in 1769, after a tour of Italy, he was given his father's job of concert master. After his mother died in Paris in 1778, Mozart returned to Salzburg. Then, in 1782, he married, and he and his wife moved to a house in Vienna. Here, he had 6 children, but only 2 survived. In fact, Mozart's life became very difficult after this. After 10 years of living in sickness and poverty, he died in 1791. He was only 35 years old, and he had already become one of the greatest composers in the world has ever seen. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? Why don't we go to a little bit of a song break? So, ladies and gentlemen, we have almost come to the end of our program. But what if we talk about some other people who have achieved their dreams? In 1932, Amelia Earhart was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, but she got lost and launched in a farmer's field in Northern Ireland. How far have you come? The farmer asked when she got out of her plane. She replied by saying, "From America." Euclid was born in about 325 BC and became one of the most important teachers of all time. His most famous book was The Elements, a book on mathematics used all over the world. He died in about 265 BC in Alexandria. Michael de Bakel, Thespin's mother, taught him to sew when he was young in the USA. Perhaps this was helpful later when he performed more than 6,000 heart operations. He also invented a very small heart pump. Dr. de Bakel is a magician of the heart, another surgeon claimed. Born in Poland 1867, Marie Curie is famous for her work on radioactivity and early nuclear research. She was awarded 2 Nobel Prizes. She died of cancer of the blood, probably caused by the radium in her experiments. So now we have come to the end of our program. Stay tuned with Good News Radio.